Hello everyone, Neve here, and today I am doing the hashtag mid-year tarot, and this was started by Spirited Stardust 11. As I watched some of the videos on this, the other people's contributions to this tag, I got the impression that this tag was that it came from the book world, like the booktube world. But I have to be honest, when I saw mid-year tarot, I'm coming from like the planner community. So I'm thinking like a Techo Kaigi mid-year review, which I did something like that on my art channel, talking about all my various uh, journals and planners and things like that, and a sort of mid-year review of them. Yeah, so that's kind of where my mindset was when it came to the tarot version of this. So yeah, there are 10 prompts to this, but I actually think I'm going to add an 11th prompt, just something to add at the end, if I remember. All right, so the first prompt is your favorite deck of 2023, and it was kind of a no-brainer for me. I picked the Wonderworld Tarot. And now that I'm thinking about it, I could have also added the Star Trek Tarot to this, which is the original version, original series version, which is the independent version, not the mass market version, which is a TNG deck. But I don't know. I think this one wins out. I think this one wins out as my favorite deck of the year so far. Now, this deck was just. I love this deck. It's gorgeous. For one, it was the right. It's just the right Alice in Wonderland deck for me. There's so many Alice in Wonderland decks out there, but there was something about the illustration style of this deck. It feels very Nickelodeon to me. It feels like a lot of the cartoons that my kids watch, my younger two. Yeah, so I don't know, there was an element of that I just really enjoyed, and it brought the Alice in Wonderland world in regards to tarot to life for me. And I don't know, I just really, really like this deck a lot, and I think it's been my favorite over the course of this year. Plus, I do actually really like the rose petal finish on this. I know a lot of people don't like that. And this is the only deck I've ever I have that has that sort of finish. So I don't know if it's just this particular deck and the way it's done, or if I just happen to really like rose petal. But I've had no problems shuffling this deck, riffle shuffling, overhand shuffling. Like, of course, I'm trying to get under the camera here, so it's going to be a little awkward right now. And I lost some of the cards, but that's okay. But like I have no problem shuffling this deck at all. And at first I had some problems like doing this, sliding this way, which is what I do. I shuffle for a while, I do a little bit of overhand, and then when I draw my cards, I draw like this, and I just draw from wherever feels right, and but over time that has smoothed out, and it's super easy now. So I have zero problems with the rose petal finish. So I don't know if it's just this deck or if I happen to be totally fine with rose petal, but there you go. All right, so that was my favorite deck of the year so far in 2023. All right, next up is a new deck this year. And so I went, it's not tarot, but I went with Lenormand, and I picked my Zenseki Lenormand. So I have, there are several new decks that I got this year, but I decided to go to pick this one because I have such a unique purpose for this deck. This is the Zenseki Lenormand here. So as you know, if you watch my channel, I've been learning Japanese for about 6 or 7 months now. I mean, a little bit longer than that, but seriously, for the past 6 or 7 months. And I got this deck specifically because there's no English on it. And I also have the PDF guidebook is all in Japanese, which is great. And plus, there's furigana on top of the kanji on all the kanji, so I can actually read it. I don't understand most of it because I'm still learning, of course, and I'm a newbie. But yeah, so I guess I got this deck for a multi-purpose. One, it's a Lenormand deck, so it's something of interest to me. And two, to help me in my process of learning Japanese. So it's kind of a combining of hobbies here. So yeah, so that is the Zenseki Lenormand, and that is one of the new decks that I got this year. Okay, so the next up is the most anticipated deck release. And I mean, this was a no-brainer for me, but I went with, oh, it's so big, the Green Glyphs collection. So it's not just one deck, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 decks, but I guess I'll just pull out the tarot since this tag mostly focuses on tarot. Yeah, I mean, I don't have, like I said, the last prompt was a Lenormand deck, and I do have an Oracle down the line here, but yeah, so I'll just pull out the tarot deck for this. And I do plan on making bags for each of these decks. So yeah, I've been eyeing the Lenormand deck from James R. Eads, the Green Glyphs Lenormand, for quite some time, and I was going to get that, but yeah. But then he announced that he was doing a whole collection. And of course, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to get the Lenormand anymore because I'm going to get the entire collection. So I backed the Kickstarter. It was a hefty price. It was like over $200, I think, to back that. And it took quite some time to get in, but it came in the beginning of June, I want to say. Yeah, it came in June, I think. And it was definitely my most anticipated deck. I think this might be my favorite card in this tarot deck. So yeah, the Green Glyphs collection was definitely my most anticipated deck this year. All right, so next prompt. All right, so the next one is the biggest disappointment. Okay, so it took me a minute to pick this one, but I'm pretty confident in this. So this is the bag I made for it. This is the This Might Help Oracle. So here we have an Oracle, not a tarot. I do really enjoy the This Might Hurt tarot, and I got, obviously the box collection, because the only way to get this deck is with the box collection, which I do enjoy. And I'm hoping that my feelings on this deck can change over time, but as of right now, I've had a difficult time with this deck. I think it's more that I had a certain idea of how to use it, and the cards are wonderful. I love the foiling on it. I love that. I think the reason that this is a disappointment so far is that it so far has not functioned the way that I had hoped to use this deck, that I had hoped to as a function of this deck. So I don't know, and I've really only done like a couple readings with it so far, but those readings were quite a disappointment that I think I just need to try to figure out how to use this deck. So what had happened, I was thinking that I might use this deck like a lot of my Oracle decks, where I do a tarot reading and I do a takeaway message with an Oracle deck, which isn't always how I do tarot and Oracle, but that is one of the ways, and it's one of the ways that I thought I was going to use this. And I had a reading. I used the This Might Hurt tarot, and I actually, the reading worked great. Like it made sense. Everything was great with it. I got a great message, yada yada. And then I closed it out with a takeaway message from this deck, from the This Might Help, and it just completely derailed the reading for me. It just, like, everything about the reading was spot on, perfect. Your great message. And then I pull a card from this deck, and it was like, what? Like it just, I don't know. It completely derailed it for me. And I don't know. I think it was this card that I got. I think. but it just didn't make sense. It completely messed up the reading. And so I'm a bit, I don't know, like, I'm a bit mad at this deck, and I think, I'm not saying I dislike the deck. It's just, it didn't turn out how I thought I was going to use it. And because of that, I think I need to figure out how this deck is going to be used in my collection, because right now I'm not quite sure, because it didn't turn out the way I thought it would. So that would be my biggest disappointment so far this year. Okay, on a happier note, the biggest surprise. I think I pulled out the Pulp Tarot for this, and this is a bag that I made for it. So I've been wanting this deck for quite some time, but I didn't end up getting it until recently, only because it was kind of on sale. So it's normally, I want to say like $40 something, but it was like half off on Etsy from the original creator. So that is why I ended up getting it, and it was a deck that I've been wanting for quite some time. Now, this ended up being a surprise for me, because I got this in mostly just because I thought it was cool looking. I mean, it's really neat. I do dislike some of the slight printing errors on some of the cards. Whoa, I just dropped all the cards. Sorry about that. Well, that was certainly a surprise. This it's the prompt about a deck that surprises you, and I just caused a big surprise for everyone here. And I think it might mostly just be in the Wands suit that there's this misprint of there's a printing error, I guess. So I would consider trimming off all the edges on this, but I don't know. I kind of like the size. I don't think I'm gonna bother. It's fine. But this is a surprise for me, because when I got this in, it gave me a certain feeling that I wasn't expecting from it, which was a sort of sexy vibe. And that's why, like, the bag that I made for it is a little bit on the sexy side, I think it's really nice and cool, and I don't know, I think it surprised me because I was not expecting to use this deck in that way. For like, sensual readings, sexy readings, things involving intimacy, and so it's kind of, it turned into a bit of a romance deck for me, but more on the sexual side of romance. So a lusty kind of deck, which not all the cards sort of give that feeling, but like, I don't know, I think there's something about the vintage nature of this deck. There's this sort of pinup sort of quality to this. I mean, they're pulp images from pulp magazines. It's not like Pulp Fiction like the movie. It's Pulp Fiction as in, that era, that type of magazine and media is the word I was trying to look for. But yeah, this just totally turned out to be a bit of a slightly masculine, sexy sort of deck for me, which was quite the surprise. So anyway, all right, so that is my biggest surprise. So the next prompt is it's the deck crush. The next prompt is the deck crush, which I rewatched to make sure I got this right, because it didn't necessarily have to be a deck I have in my possession, which I was thinking more of a deck that I want, that I'm kind of crushing on. So that's the route I'm going on. So I don't have this deck in my possession. And this was actually probably the most difficult prompt to narrow down, because I have lots of deck crushes. I could list, I have a my wishlist video, my tarot wishlist video from earlier in the year. I have that on my channel, and in fact, that's something I can do as a mid-year thing. And I know I'm a little late on this video too, because this will go up actually in the beginning of August, because it's as I'm filming this, it is July 31st. So I am late on this. But I think I might do a follow-up on my wish list that I did at the beginning of the year, and I might do that in August here. A kind of slightly later than mid-year, just going over my wish list again and seeing if that is indeed the same things that I'm going to have on my wish list. But so because I have so many deck crushes, to narrow this down, I decided to put on this for this prompt the deck that I am likely going to get next. And that my choice for that is the Guardian Tarot, which I will put an image up during editing. So this deck is it's not like the most glamorous, gorgeous deck. It's a deck that I feel like will serve a particular purpose for me. Now, a lot of people, I think, find this tarot deck to be very creepy. The beings in this deck are quite creepy. I mean, they're kind of spooky, scary looking, but I don't view them in that way. They are very, I don't know if ethereal is the right word, but so this deck is a deck that I plan to sort of use as a fae sort of deck, or a nature spirit sort of deck, if that makes sense. And the reason why I'm drawn to these creatures so much is, and I have to grab this real quick. I have a distant cousin who is an artist like myself, and she did these willow sprites, and I bought one of the willow sprites from her because they kind of evoke a sort of nature spirit fae, like actual fae energy for me. It's not like the Victorian fairies sort of thing, but like the vibe that I get from her artwork on this. And her name is Katinka, and her signature here is Tink. But the feelings it gave me was very real fae. And I do believe in the fae as actual beings. I have seen them before. So this is, so I have this on my fairy altar, my good people altar. And I feel like the Guardian Tarot it really reminds me of this. And I've been wanting it for a while, so I think that's going to be my next purchase. It's just about August. I think that will be my mass market deck that I get, is the Guardian Tarot, and it's about $24, $25 on Amazon. So yeah, so that is my deck crush. It's basically the next deck I'm going to get. All right, so then the next prompt was a deck that made you cry, and I don't think any of my decks have actually made me cry, but I think this is more talking about a strong emotional response. And so that I ended up pulling my favorite deck of all time, and that is the Anna K. So this deck for me is definitely a deck. It's like my counselor. It's like my best friend. It's my counselor. It's my favorite deck. And the images in this deck really evoke a certain emotion in me. I'm not particularly really emotional in general. I can be, and I am in certain situations, of course, or with certain people. But this deck kind of gives me that. It's so like I'm emotional with people that I'm really, really close to, like my husband, or, something like that. And I can be quite sensitive with my husband and other people that I'm super, super close with. And I feel like that's the kind of energy that this deck gives me. It's almost, I wouldn't say it's a marriage, but it's like a best friend and a counselor sort of energy. And I had a week that was I guess a little tough emotionally or mentally. And so I decided to use this deck as my nightly, daily reader. And I got some readings from this that were just, it evoked an emotion in me. So that is why I think this is my pick for a deck this year that made me cry. It's not so much that it made me cry, because I don't think I actually cried, but yeah, I had a strong emotional reaction to it. So, and a strong emotional reaction to the readings that I got from it. And I mean, I think that's why this deck continues to be my favorite deck, because it evokes those sorts of feelings for me. All right, so let's move on. So the most, the deck that made you happy. Okay. That's a lot of my decks, and I could bring back in the Wonder World Tarot, but I ended up choosing, this is the bag that I made for it, with all the puppies that I embroidered, and the dog in the middle that looks like my dog. So this is the Barkana Tarot, and I think this is just my happy deck. It really is. And I've used this deck this year a few times with Ondagda, the god Ondagda. And I don't know why, but it sort of just sometimes has his energy, and I feel called to use it with him. I love the backs on this. But it's just, I don't know, it's a very happy deck. It's dogs. And, it's got the collar down at the bottom with the title on it, which is really cute. And there's just even the sad card or the bad cards in this deck. Even those are kind of happy. And so it's just, I don't know if it's a pick-me-up, but it's just, if I want to look at pleasant imagery and nice images, this is the one to go to, I think. And I also could have added the Grimalkin Tarot in this, because that one's also very sunny and happy. It's a very summery deck for me, the Grimalkin. Oh, here's the one that has puppies that look like my dog. My dog is not a beagle. She's a harrier, but harriers look like big beagles. So whenever I try to find something with dogs and I try to find my dog in it, I usually just pick the beagle because that's what she looks like. All right, so that is a deck that made me happy. Okay, so the next prompt is the most beautiful deck. Oh gosh, this was tough because I have so many beautiful decks. But I ended up going with one of my newest items here. And there's two decks here, but they kind of go together. And these are the Citadel deck and the Deck of Emblems. So let me pull them out. And these are the bags that I made for them. I thought they go really nice together, match quite beautifully, in my opinion. Oops. There we go. All right, so yeah, I'm pulling out both decks here, and I love the shape of these. So, I mean, I had some issues with this deck, just the idea of it, because I have the original Citadel deck that came with the Seed and Sickle, I believe. These things, like when they close, they're so loud. This Might Help also does this, and it's just, oh, it's so loud. Like, sometimes it startles me. But these cards are just gorgeous. I mean, look at this. It's just stunning. And the shape of the deck is really cool. Yeah. And like the issues that I had with this deck was more that, I don't know, because I have the original Citadel deck, and I don't know, this is clearly better. I think I just am not sure how to use my original Citadel deck now, because it's basically this deck minus a few cards, because this deck added a few new cards to it. Oops, and it's a lot smaller. So it's more square shaped, if that makes sense. It's still got that like hexagonal shape, but it's sort of it's even, not elongated like this. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. Oh my God, look at that. So pretty. Yeah, so it's, I don't know. I think I just am not sure how to use my original Citadel deck anymore. This one's so nice, but this is just so pretty. And I mean, we got the same sort of deal here with the emblems. I mean, this is by far the most beautiful deck that I got, two decks rather, got this year. Yeah, I'm really happy with this. I'm looking forward to different ways to use this. I have used it already a few times, and I really liked it, and I want to continue using this. I really like this. All right, so I'm just going to keep looking at this if I don't put this away now. All right, so that is my most beautiful deck. Okay, so the final official prompt was the what deck do you want by the end of the year? There's so many, but I have narrowed it down. I definitely want, and either for my birthday or for Christmas, I want the Spread Crafters Oracle plus the expansions. Yeah, I don't know if you just heard that, but my stomach just growled. But anyway, I have not eaten breakfast yet. Yeah, so I really want the Spread Crafters Oracle and the expansions. I found over time that I am definitely a spread kind of person when it comes to tarot. I enjoy the spreads. It kind of brings an order to my readings. I can do just laying out cards, reading them intuitively, and I do that. And sometimes I prefer that, but in general, especially if I'm not quite sure what sort of reading I want to do, or I know I want to do some sort of reading, but it's just, I don't know where to go with that. I find that spreads I really enjoy. I love looking up different spreads that people have come up with. I love following accounts on like Instagram that are just spreads. I enjoy that. And because of that, I think the Spread Crafters Oracle might be something that would be very useful for me. And I do really like that the quest version of that, which I think will be really fun and might be really cool to use with the Citadel deck, because it's kind of got that RPG sort of feel to it. So I don't know. I think that might be really cool. All right. So that is the last of the official prompts, but I'm going to add one more. So this final prompt that I am adding is, what is my favorite bag or bags that I've made this year for tarot or oracle? And that is because, as you can see, as you saw with all my decks, I like to make bags for my decks. I like to, even though I often will keep them in their original boxes if they're small enough in the bag, that's one way that I bond with my decks. So I have 2 decks here of bags that I made this year that are my favorites. So the first one, oops, sorry, I bumped the camera. The first one is for my grunge tarot, and this I went a different route. Normally I do kind of like this, where it's just a drawstring bag, and I have a ribbon and an embroidery on the front and a different fabric inside that goes over on the outside. So yeah, that's typically how I make my bags, but I went with something different for the grunge tarot, and this is it's a mixtape, which I thought was really cool. The zipper gets a little stuck there, but yeah, so let me pull out the deck. I am going to trim this deck too, and I'm not going to go over these cards, but except for to show the general matching of this. Yeah, I tried to go with the colors of this deck. I really don't like the backs, but I tried to go with the colors of this deck, and I used like this mixtape fabric. It's really cool. Hip hop and pop hits and rock hits and love songs, pop hits, country mix. Like, it's got all sorts of different things in here. And then on the top here, I got hip hop, pop hits, rock hits. Very cool. I embroidered grunge hits on the front. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really happy with the way this one turned out, and it's totally different from all the other bags that I've done, but just in this case, it just really, really worked. I mean, this is, it's grunge tarot. It's, yeah, I mean, let's leave it on the guitar there. But yeah, so that is probably one of my favorite bags that I made this year, or definitely one of my favorites. And the other one, let me just go ahead and put this away real quick. The other one is recent, and this is my Lord of the Rings tarot. Yeah. First of all, I really like this deck a lot. Yes, it's a pip deck, but I really love the artwork of this. And I'm going to get the Labyrinth version of this, and I'm also going to get the Dark Crystal because those, like, I just really like this woodcut art. But the bag, oh my gosh, I just like I'm so in love with how this bag turned out. The embroidery is beautiful. It's the Hobbit door and it's got Gandalf's sigil here. It's just gorgeous. I love the green fabric that the like kind of velvet fabric that I used. And then the inside fabric is just licensed Lord of the Rings fabric, which I think is really cool. you know, yeah, I love it. I'm just so happy with the way this particular bag turned out. All right, so those were all of the prompts for my mid-year tarot review. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye.